Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am super excited to share with you today my friend Lisa Taylor. She is going to share with you a three-step process to solve any problem that you have. And I am super excited to have this conversation. So for those of you that are here with us, welcome. We're really, really glad to have you here. Just a reminder that we will absolutely post any links so that you can stay in touch with Lisa or grab any of the freebies that she's got inside of the description. So be sure that you take a look at that so that you can grab our gifts. So Lisa, welcome. I'm so glad to have you today.
Thank you for asking me to be here. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really, it's an easy throwaway to say thanks for having me, but I actually feel really honored that you asked me
Aw.
because I have so much respect for you, and I really feel like our audiences are so aligned that it really is an honor to be here and to be able to talk into your community and to give of myself here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank
Sincerely.
you for being willing to serve and to share, because I know
Yeah.
it's absolutely going to serve so many. So would you speak into this? Because this is a pretty big claim, right?
It
To
is a
solve
pretty big claim.
any problem,
Yeah.
any decision that you have to make. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, where's my notebook?
Like
Where's
like really? Okay. I'm a
my
little skeptical. This actually, I am a big fan of a daily practice. Like I have a daily spiritual practice. I've had one since I was in like seventh grade. And of course it's like morphed over the years. But when we ground ourselves for the day and we understand who we are spiritually, as opposed to just out in the world and what the world labels us as,
Yeah.
it gives us a foundation on which to lean. Like it gives us a platform to stand on that everything else looks in proportion to that. When
Mm.
we don't do that, we find ourselves getting kind of buffeted by the world and the problems and all the stuff and grasping for stability. So, daily practice to me includes several things. And I'm kind of getting to the three-step thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Daily practice for me includes understanding who is our creator, like who we're all here walking around on the planet in these little spacesuits, but something created us. Like
Hmm.
we didn't do it ourselves, our moms didn't do it, like it happened.
Yeah.
So there is a force, there is a power that is beyond us, beyond our sort of human comprehension of things, that is governing. So I think we can all kind of agree, whether you're religious or not religious, believe in God or don't believe in God, there is some kind of a power that
Hmm.
created us. So we can kind of start there. So if we are in our daily practice, aligning with whatever that power is, I call it God, but plug in whatever works for you. So I want to know God. I want to know who created me. Like,
Hmm.
how did that happen? And what if you look at sort of biblical language, we were made in the image and likeness of God. It's like, well, okay, if I'm made in the image and likeness of God, then who is God? Because in the image and likeness of that. So if I don't
Yeah.
know God, I don't know me. So
Oh,
starting the
wait.
day,
I have to stop it
wait,
right
wait,
there. Holy cow. Like, say that again. If I don't know God, I don't know me. Wow. I know that
yeah.
sounds like so simple, but holy cow, that's like huge.
And do stop me because this is so ingrained in me that I just rattle
Yeah.
this stuff off, but like slow me down because that's one of my problems. I just keep going.
Yeah,
So
no,
feel free.
no,
Like
absolutely.
stop me.
Like,
Yeah.
that was like such a boing. Like, I felt that
Tweetable
over
moment.
in my body.
Like if we don't know the source material, how are we going to know the effect of it? Like
Mhm.
cause and effect. We're the effect. If we don't know the cause,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
are we going to know us?
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's one
Yeah.
cause, there's one effect. It's like, so, okay, so in my daily practice, I want to know God.
Hmm.
And then I want to know, who am I in relationship to that? Do
Hmm.
I see myself as God sees me? Do I see myself as the world sees me?
Hmm.
Which of those am I claiming? Which of those am I walking around with? When we talk, Olivia talks about negative self-talk.
Hmm.
Well, where does negative self-talk come from? It's certainly not God's voice we're listening to.
True.
So what is that? Who said?
Hmm. Hmm.
So if that's something that we deal with over and over again, you have the choice to tune that out and to tune into, wait a second, what is the divine voice saying about who I am? Well, if we
Mhm.
don't know who the divine is and what their voice sounds like, we're certainly not going to know what they're saying about us. So
Mhm.
again, it goes back to, and then once you know who you are, then you can look out onto the world and say, okay, I know who I am. I'm going to go be that
Mm.
instead of letting the world define who we are. A really good friend of mine, Chris Smith, has trained his children to choose it's either by default or by design.
Mm.
Like you can take on the identity that the world is giving you by default,
Mhm.
or you can design it by choosing to go with what does God say about you?
Right.
So essentially, if you look at these three sort of places that I go in my daily practice, it's look up,
Mhm.
look in, and then look out. So the three-step process is look up, look in, look out. It's the up and out way. So
Mm.
if you and you know when I this came through, this was like a real download when I was doing a workshop called Paths of Practice. Like what is your path of practice and what does it
Mm.
look like? And there's actually a whole worksheet that you can go through that's on my website, thischoicematters.co, not .com, .co, thischoicematters.co. And at the bottom of the homepage, there's a free download, three steps to three-step solution to every problem. Look
Mhm.
up, look in, look out. It's like a worksheet to design your daily practice that follows this archetype so that
Mm.
you can decide what your practice looks like. It's completely individual to you
Mhm.
because everyone, and I kind of have a theory. I don't know if this is real or not. I have a theory. I honestly think there should be as many religions in the world as there are people.
Mm.
Because religion, what is religion really?
Mhm.
It's your individual path to the divine.
Right.
So doesn't everybody have their own path to the divine? You don't have to go through a person.
Mhm.
God is always with us. The kingdom of heaven is within. So it's
Right.
not like I need to go through some ordained somebody or other to get there. Everybody has that voice, that intuitive sort of divine GPS on the inside, that
Yep.
still small voice.
Yep.
So this practice, look up, look in, look out, gets you to really tune into your own individual divine intuition and utilize that to base every decision in your life on that, not on human reasoning,
Mhm.
judgment of others, evidence from the material world. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
quantum physics corroborates this.
Yep.
Basically, everything is consciousness. What we think of as 3D, five material sense testimony, is illusion. Einstein said, illusion, albeit a very persistent one. It is an illusion.
Mm.
So if everything is consciousness and everything we see, there's this guy, Jack Hubble, a spiritual teacher that I've known about for years. His equation is human consciousness equals human experience.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
okay, so if that's true, and yes, I believe it is, then I need to be very careful what's going on in human consciousness.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
need to be very practiced at guarding the gate of my thought and
Mhm.
not letting any old thought come in. And here's the thing that's kind of tricky for people. A lot of times the ideas that come to us, the thoughts that come to us, come in the form of the first person.
Mm.
Oh, why am I such an idiot? Why did I why can't I? And we have to be really careful that if we can't, and this is just a little trick that you can use. If you can't substitute the word God or the divine in for the word I and make a true statement, then you know it's a lie.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a
Like,
good
"Oh, I'm
one.
so stupid. God is so stupid? Really? Really?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think so." Well, that's a lie. So it's actually a suggestion for you to take it's like tempting you to take it on as you're thinking.
Mm.
Always have the choice. That's why this choice matters. We
Mhm.
always have the choice what we're letting into thought and what we're claiming as true about ourselves. And getting into the practice of that is something that will change your life, guaranteed. It will change your life. Because as we sort of hone our skill, our practice at noticing what's going on in thought, claiming only what is true, you will start to see, because then your human consciousness is sort of getting uplifted, purified, then you will see your experience change. Because if it's not in human consciousness, it's not in your human experience. So I've practiced this my whole life. It's a science. It's a
Mm-hmm.
divine science. I've studied it my whole life. And essentially, it came from a woman who looked at, like, she was very biblically based. She looked at Jesus' healings and she had an instantaneous healing from reading the Bible. And then she went back and studied, well, wait, how did that happen? How did
Yeah.
Jesus heal? Like, what's the science behind those healings? Because he wasn't like offering medicine, he wasn't
Right.
offering physical therapy or physical treatment. He was offering a divine sense of themselves. Like, I was just reading today the story of the man of infirmity for 38 years by the pool of Bethesda. And he says, you know, will you be made whole? He knew he'd been a long time in that case. It's a,
Mm-hmm.
wilt thou be made whole? He asks this guy. Like, I mean, that sounds like an odd question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course I want to be whole. And he goes into this whole story. Well, I don't have anybody to put me into the pool after the angel troubles the water because the first person into the pool gets healed. That was what everybody believed.
Right.
So he recognizes that what's going on in thought for this guy is what's been governing his experience. He
Yeah, he doesn't
thinks
think it's possible.
unless he can get into the pool after the water is troubled, he's not going to be healed. So he's holding on to that, and there's nobody to put me in the pool. So I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
Well,
For
what is
38 years.
38 years? And what does Jesus say? Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. So he's given him agency because he knows the divine law. Jesus knows the divine law and knows what you claim, what you see as reality is going to be reflected in your experience. If you
Mm.
stay stuck in this alternate reality of I'm a victim, I'm
Mm-hmm.
stuck,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, I've been here 38 years, there's a time trajectory of this that there's no way like all of that stuff, then that's his experience.
Right.
Jesus knew better because he saw the image and likeness of God, to
Mm-hmm.
put it in sort of biblical terms, where everybody around him was seeing a cripple
Wow.
sitting by the pool waiting for somebody to put him in the water.
Right.
Jesus didn't see that. He saw the real identity of the individual there. Well, so this science is about really understanding the power of the divine law, the
Mm-hmm.
law of good that is always operating. And when we can get our human sense of ourselves that is less than out of the way and discard that, see the reality, which is the divine order of things, then we can start seeing that in our experience because it's a natural, inevitable scientific result of the law. It's not guesswork. It's not maybe. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So it sounds very much like we are absolutely working at the level of belief
Yeah,
because what we believe to be true is what we actually see, where we kind of get that backwards in our own human
yeah,
experience. We have a physical experience or a circumstance or
right.
whatever it is that we see in the world. And we think that, and then we bring that from the outside in. So I love
Right.
the look up, the look in, and then the look out instead of
Yes.
look out.
Yes.
Oh, so
Well,
good.
I love that you kind of brought it back to that because then you know that if you're basing stuff on evidence outside
Mhm.
and you know that's not going well, what does that tell you? Go backwards up the chain.
Yeah.
Like you can reverse it and go, okay, if it's not going well out there, then the first thing I need to do is get square with myself. What am I thinking
Mm.
about myself? Who am I believing I am? And then
Mm.
if I'm not really sure, where do I go? I go up. Like,
Mhm.
okay, let me check in with the source material. See, who
Mhm.
am I? Like, remind me again, who am I? And
Yeah.
get the divine sense of ourself and then go backwards again. Like,
Ooh.
go. So it's like there is this, I grew up in a time when actually smoking in restaurants was something that people used to do, like way back when,
I
back in the
remember
dark
that
ages.
time.
And I never smoked. So there was always like an ashtray in the middle of the table that was like this glass ashtray that was, so, like lenses, like camera lenses and stuff. A lens has a focal distance. So
Mhm.
if you're in the right focal distance for the lens, everything's clear. So
Mhm.
pretend the ashtray, this is my ashtray analogy. Pretend the ashtray is a lens. And when you stand in the center of the circle, no matter which direction you look, everything's in focus. Everything outside the ashtray is all your human experiences, like your job, your relationship, your marriage, your whatever, the family, all the stuff.
Mhm.
When you step off that center point and go out and try to change something of the outward experience, not only does that go out of focus, everything goes out of focus because you're
Mm,
basing your experience on evidence
mhm,
rather than going to the cause.
mm,
So if it's out of focus, what does that tell me? Get back on the center point. What is the center point? When I'm identifying myself clearly with the divine, when I
mm,
see myself for who I truly am, not for who the world tells me I am, or what the evidence of the material senses tell me I am. What is my experience? There was anyway, so going back to the center point. So it's again the same thing. It's like look up, look in, and then look out. Don't
mm.
look out and try to go manipulate that. We're not going
Right,
to change our experience. We don't alter experience to change reality. We alter our sense of reality to change experience.
right, right. So good. Yes, yes.
Because,
I'm like,
like, if you have a fever, what is the practice? Let's regulate the fever. Let's change the experience to
mm-hmm,
try to get back to square one. Well, that's the effect. That's
mm-hmm.
not the cause.
Yep.
So I'm going to then say, wait a second, what is my concept of reality? Do I understand that human consciousness equals human experience? Okay, what's going on in thought?
Mm-hmm,
Where in my thought am I holding on to some false belief about myself
mm,
that then is being reflected? And I actually can use myself as an example because you can hear
yeah.
that I sound a little congested. So on Friday, I run a group and we're all together. On Friday, I had a roundtable discussion with a lot of my members going on this deep dive. And one of the topics of conversation was the fact that, oh, I never went on vacation this year. I realized I went, oh, yeah, I took a week off last year and I took a week off the year before, but I didn't, huh. We thought we were going to be moving into the house and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm,
And then the conversation goes to, oh, well, you got to take care of yourself. You got to. So it was a very loving conversation. And this is not to say anything negative about the group at all. They were extremely loving. But I subtly took on a belief that working constantly would somehow tire me out, which is a
mm,
false belief.
mm-hmm,
If the energy is divine and I'm just reflecting divine energy, it's like the reflection in the mirror, who's the reflection of the guy lifting the heavy bag. Does
mm-hmm,
the reflection feel the weight of the bag? Is the
mm,
reflection getting tired from lifting the bag over and over again? Nope. Well, if I'm the reflection of the divine, then me being the reflection of God is not going to tire me out. I'm
mm,
going to feel empowered by that, not tired by that. But I
mm-hmm,
subtly took it on. Even though it was a really loving conversation, really supportive, Saturday, I felt exhausted. I
mm,
felt all this stuff coming on and I thought, "Oh, cool. I'm going to be a guinea pig and I'm going to see where does this go?" Like I have all the energy, I feel fine. I sound funny, but I feel fine. But the shift in thought for me came when I no longer took this problem on as personal.
mm,
It was no longer my problem. Oh, I'm feeling exhausted. Oh, I'm feeling like run down. I'm physically, oh, and it's showing up as fever and cold and all this stuff. It's like, hang on, that's not who I am. I'm not going to look at the physical human experience of this and call it real as that's who I am. Okay.
mm,
So clean up thought and then watch the effect of that, the inevitable effect of that. So in the last day, I guess, a couple of days, I guess it was 2 days ago, it was like I felt thought shift. Like I knew, okay, there's the healing. Like when thought shifted from a personal sense of me that's separate from the divine
mm,
to no, 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 I am the reflection of the divine. Everything that God is, I am. I am the reflection of. There's nothing else that can get in between that. And as
mm.
soon as thought shifted, I felt everything sort of the domino effect of that. So now
Oh,
it's just getting out of my body. It's like, okay,
yeah.
I'm not worried about it. It'll all be fine. But there was a shift in thought,
Mm.
which I know will inevitably produce the shift in my human experience. So it's scientific.
Yes, and yet it is so hard for us to stay in that center. And I think that's why you're saying how important it is to have this daily practice
Exactly.
so that you keep starting from the center. And
Yep.
it's, we have human brain. So our human brain, what is subconsciously, right? Most of us respond and react out of subconscious thought. It's just that that subconscious thought isn't a true reflection of
Yeah.
who
So
we are.
what if, so I love where you're going with that because what if we get a clearer sense of God as mind, God
Mm,
as intelligence, and we
mm,
know there's only one mind and that we are the reflection of that mind. We're
Mhm.
not a separate mind operating in our own little universe.
Right, right,
If we
right.
believe we are, then our whole experience is going to follow that. And every limited belief we have, we're going to see.
Yeah.
Every fear we have, it's going to be played out in our life. But how did, I mean, I want to be honoring people who don't sort of follow the Bible, but Jesus was such a great example. It's hard not to use him.
Mhm, mhm.
He overcame every physical material law, broke the law of birth, broke the law of death, broke the laws of time and space, broke the law of gravity. And when I say broke, I mean he overcame them. He demonstrated his ability to not be governed by them.
Right.
Broke the law of health, broke the laws of society where he elevated women when
Mhm.
that was not something that people did. He broke the laws of sort of religious norm and that kind of he worked against it, said, I'm not governed by these laws.
Mhm.
I'm governed by divine law. And
Mhm.
I'm operating from that place. So I and my Father are one. I and the one mind are one. Therefore, my mind is a reflection of the one mind. So claiming that means there's less chatter that's working against me coming
Mhm.
up a lot. And I'm not struggling with the subconscious, the human mind. I
Right.
am standing in the authority of divine mind reflected, which is, again, goes back to what you're saying, the importance of the daily practice. If we're
So
not
let's take,
starting from that premise, then,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, totally. Yeah. If we're not starting from that premise, if we're not intentionally choosing, like you said, right, either by default or by design, if we're not
yeah,
in that energy of I get to choose and by design, then we are responding and reacting by default
yeah,
to something on the outside. Could you take us through another example of like a and I'm sure you work with clients in group and personally as well. We don't need to say any names at all, or you can just make something up to kind
make
of
something up.
guide through the process of this is what I perceive as being my problem, and how can I use Lisa's three-step
Yeah, I
like
can
an
actually use I have a really clear example. This happens to be from my own experience, so I can share it very honestly. I woke up one morning in incredible pain. My shoulder seemed to be completely out of joint. It was just like my arm was just like dangling. It was really forward and it was very odd. It looked deformed. I had no use of my arm. I could wiggle my fingers, but I couldn't lift or do. I had no mobility in my arm. And it was the most painful. Like I had both children at home. So it was more painful than that.
girl. Number two for me
No
was open
drugs at home. I am woman, hear me roar.
heart.
And actually had a fairly painless birth both times
Wow.
because of this practice,
Wow.
because I was able to get rid of the fear, and pain is just fear.
Mm.
So with the shoulder thing, it was really painful. I was praying my way through it. I was not I would call a spiritual practitioner, and when he was working for me, it was like the pain would just go and then it
Mm.
would come back. So I did this for a couple days and then I thought, you know what? I think it's just out of joint. Why don't I just go put it back into socket and, then work my way through. Went and got it x-rayed by a sports medicine guy. And they said, no, it's not out of joint. It's not out of, what are they, dislocated. It's not
Uh-huh.
dislocated. What you've done is you had a cartilage buildup in your joint and the cartilage broke off and it severed your, I think he said, I don't remember if he said tendon or ligament. I don't remember. But I severed something that the whatever the thing fractured off, severed something. And the only solution is surgery. There's no way this is going to reconnect or rejoin. It's been severed. It's like, you got to have
Oh.
surgery. My insurance didn't kick in for 11 days because of the company had just taken it
Mhm.
on. And he said, listen, come back and we'll re-examine and then you can do it with insurance. And that was like enough to tip me over the edge just because I thought, I'm I'm not getting surgery. I don't feel comfortable with that. But it was enough to get me to go full on into this process and
Mhm.
say, okay, if I don't have the healing it's like it gave me 11 days to have the healing. If I don't have the healing in 11 days, okay, then I'll look into the surgery and see what that looks like. So I worked with a spiritual practitioner and the pivotal point, and it was all about seeing who is God, who am I in relationship to God? So who am I as a spiritual idea, not a hunk of matter that seems deformed and not operating? Who
Mm-hmm.
am I truly as a spiritual idea? And getting so clear on that. There's this thing, there's a woman, Mary Baker Eddy, who wrote this book, Science and Health, which is all about this law. And she, this is in a different book of hers, but she talks about hold thoughts steadfastly to the enduring, the good, and the true, and you will bring these into your experience proportionably to their occupancy of your thoughts. So holding thought to the enduring, the good, and the true is going to bring it into my experience. That was kind of hard in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the
When you're
the
experiencing
pivotal
pain.
the pivotal point was understanding that if I'm an idea is not constrained by matter. An idea can flow and have activity regardless of matter.
Mm.
Ideas can't swell or ache or be inflamed or have dysfunction. Ideas are pure. Like if you have the idea number 4 and you write a 4 on the page and it has a broken leg, like the little 4 has a broken leg, is the number 4 altered by that?
No,
No. Number 4 is intact. It's just fine.
it's still 4.
It's a 4. And it can be used infinitely all over the world. If everybody in the world wrote number 4 at the same time, would we run out of 4s?
Nope,
No, it's
never.
unlimited, right? So I am an idea. I'm a divine idea. So every aspect of my functionality, every aspect of my being is infinite and spiritual. It's not based in matter. Does the expression look material? Yeah. But is that an illusion of sense? Yes. It's a
Mm.
false sense of my identity. So the pivotal sort of juncture was when I got this sense very clearly that ideas, and this is another quote from Mrs. Eddy actually, ideas run and disport themselves. And I thought, oh, that's cool. So the ideas have their own mobility, they have their own activity. I don't have to manipulate matter for the idea to have motion and have
Mm.
freedom. And when I really got a sense of myself as an idea, I knew the healing was done. I knew that the healing was there. So I had a business trip I had to go on, and I had to like lug a suitcase and put it up in the overhead bin and blow dry my hair, which like, how do you do that with one hand? It's like, that's hard to do. It's like, and I'm right-handed and it was my
How'd you
right
put those
arm.
underwears on?
It's like, yeah, exactly. How do you put on pants? How do you tie your shoes? Like all these things. So I was able to go on this trip and I was actually giving a presentation to this conference. I was able to do that. I had enough mobility. And then I went to this, I don't know, we were staying at this place that was right on the water and I was able to go swimming. And it was like everything, if you had orchestrated like a course of physical therapy to get this arm back to where it needed to be, it would have looked exactly like what I had done.
Wow.
I didn't plan it that way. It just,
Wow.
it all worked out that
Wow.
what was needed for this to be realized was all in place. So by 2 weeks later, I was completely healed.
Wow.
I had full use of my arm. I have full use of my arm.
Wow.
I was really worried about not being able to like do my like play tennis and serve and do all that.
Ah.
And I used to have, before this thing happened, I used to have a hard time like sleeping on my right side. It would be painful when I'd wake up. That was gone. That was healed too. So like all these residual healings came at the same time. But I was completely healed. About a month later, I heard about somebody who had the same problem. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. They got surgery. They had 2 years of, I think they had 2 different surgeries because one didn't quite do what it needed to do. They had 2 years of physical therapy and they still didn't end up with 100% use of their arm. They were still restricted, and I thought, if only people knew that this was available.
Yeah.
I mean,
Love
I,
what. Go ahead.
I mean, my grandfather was a surgeon, taught at the Harvard Medical School. So I grew up with surgery in my family. So I have nothing against the medical field. I bless those who devote their lives to helping and serving others in that way. But this is another opportunity to see, okay, that's not my only option. I
Mhm.
actually have an option to go to an even higher law that trumps that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. The higher law, because, and we see this over and over again. We just don't think about it in this, or at least I don't typically think about it, but I'm thinking about, friends of mine or women that I've known who maybe didn't like their outer physical appearance. And so they
Yeah.
had surgery, right?
Hmm.
And so they're trying to take care of it on the outside,
Right.
but then they end up regaining the weight eventually or whatever. And it's
Yep.
because they are not changing the internal
Yeah.
belief idea first. It's
Yep.
just trying to shift the outer physical in order to then shift the internal. And that doesn't
Yeah.
work that way.
We can't change our experience to alter reality.
Yeah.
We have to shift our sense of reality to alter experience. And that actually, that phrase came to me years ago, and I heard a voice, and it
Mm.
was like this really sweet woman's voice. And actually, the voice I heard said, "Oh, my dear, you don't alter experience to change reality. You alter your sense of reality to change experience." And I went, "Wait, let me grab paper and write it down." It's like, what? And I was like, "Okay, let me make sure I understand this." But it was like, "Oh, my dear." It was
Yeah.
this very sweet voice. But it was so like, "Bless your heart," patting me on the head. I was like, "You
it was
idiot."
it was a southern voice. Oh, bless her heart.
Bless her pointy little head. Yeah, yeah,
I love that. I
yeah,
love
yeah. As my friend Melanie Wilson would say, "I'm slow, but I'm cute." And
that.
I don't wanna claim that I'm slow, but it's actually a funny I laugh every time she says it.
Oh, that's so funny. Lisa, this is incredible. This is so, so good. So we've got a freebie, a couple of freebies
Yeah,
actually. One is to
yeah,
go to your website, thischoicematters.co, C-O.
yes,
So
.co.
yeah, .co.
Free download at the bottom of the homepage. And then on one of the other pages, I don't remember which one it's on, but on several of the other pages, there's also a free trial, like a free week-long trial I do a daily show called Morning Metaphys, which is essentially a half hour of inspiration every morning, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, where I just deliver whatever God has in store that day. I do my daily preparation, do my stuff, and then I show up and just say, "Okay, God, what are you saying today?" And it's
Hmm.
all based in this law. So it's
Hmm.
all basically, if you're not familiar with the law, you get to kind of get a sense of what does it look like to incorporate listening to ideas about this law into your daily practice.
Hmm.
So sign up for the free trial, see if it aligns with you. And if this doesn't align with you, then do the daily practice, the up and out way worksheet,
Yeah.
and determine what of the daily practice does align with you.
Hmm.
One of
Hmm.
the things that, and I'll just say this, I don't know how we're doing on time. Do I have
Yeah,
a
we're
minute?
good. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So in the worksheet, there's a really cool, it's like a grid essentially. So it's look up, look in, look out across the top. And then there are questions that go down the side. Who would you have me be? What would you have me know? What would you have me see? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? And those questions taken in the context of look up. So you're asking basically, okay, God, who would you have me be? What would you have me know? What would you have me see? Then in the context of yourself
Hmm.
and in the context of out there.
Hmm.
So here's the clue. What this does, and the worksheet explains all of this, but what this does is you choose activities that call forward in you the things that you want to know, see, do, be, right? In a different order. Who do you want to be?
Hmm.
Well, I want to be, I really want to claim my discipline. Okay, so
Hmm.
what's an activity that I can put into my daily practice that's going to call up in me discipline?
Hmm.
Okay, go running every day.
Hmm.
Get up and go running it, whether you feel like it or not. Get up and go running every day. It's like, okay, so then you choose activities, things out there that call up in you a way of being that is aligning with who you're visioning,
Yep.
not who you've been,
Right.
who you're visioning. And then your daily practice becomes the structure that's getting you to step into that place of your being that has the ability to shift you. So you're not stuck in the old habits. It's
Love
actually
that.
it's a really cool workbook.
That sounds so cool. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
even
So
seen
anyway,
it. I know I've been to your website and I'm on your free trial, but ooh, I'm gonna go grab that. That sounds amazing.
oh, you've been in the free trial? How has it been?
And I'm like, I signed up for it, and then I'm like, oh, the weekend's here. We got this, and I'm doing a workshop series right now. So
So you
yeah.
have when so the other thing I should say, when you're a member, when you subscribe to Morning Metaphys or you do the free trial, you do get the email every day of the recording.
Oh,
So
cool.
even
I
if you
think I
can't
have to
show up
go back
live,
and find my
yeah,
email.
look in
Yeah.
your junk folder because it may have just gone into junk, but you get the recording every day. And then I also have a community of people who want to kind of go deeper, do a deeper dive on the science. And that they have access to sort of what I call the arc, which
Mhm.
is all the recordings of everything, like every workshop I've ever done, all the Intuition Chronicles, which was a series I did, like all the different stuff. So they have all the recordings in the arc, which
I
is
love the names that you have for this. This is so
I know
cool.
it's fun.
So cool. So
It's fun.
creative. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, everybody. So go in the description, grab the link, click on the link, go get that daily practice. I know it's going to be so helpful. And then if you feel called, just go check Lisa out. Join her for Morning Metaphys. I
Yeah,
think it's
I'd love
great.
to see you in there. I'd love to see you in my Zoom.
Yeah,
It's a really cool group of people. I have
sounds
to say
amazing.
there are
Sounds so
quite a
cool.
few who are sort of international who
Yeah,
don't come to the live because the timing doesn't really work out for them, but it's a real international kind of group of people and it's fun.
it's
It's fun. It's a
amazing.
lot of good thinkers.
Lisa,
Very
thank you for
loving.
being here today. So good.
Yeah.
You're able to share
Thank you
your
for
great
your great
stuff.
questions.
Yeah, so good.
Conversation.
And Lisa and I could talk for hours and hours
I know.
and hours.
Yeah.
And we have.
And we have. We
Awesome.
have. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome, Lisa. Okay, everybody, we will see you next time. Thanks for being here.